I'll go ahead and I'll get us started here. I'll start going through kind of what we've got. But this will be recorded as well. So if anyone wasn't able to hop on and there was some confusion, we can get it sent out after it concludes and we get a process there. But I'll go ahead and just kind of kick us off. My name's Tyler Ford. I currently serve as Director of Mentors with tnAchieves. And this meeting is really just about providing you and Trousdale County an update on where your students stand, the progress they're making relative to Tennessee Promise and college going, and then just kind of provide a snapshot of the work that tnAchieves is doing across the state to positively impact students and some of the new programs we're offering students to help enhance their post-secondary experience. So that's really kind of what we're going to cover here today. Obviously, we got a small crowd, so if you have any questions as we go through this, feel free to jump in with those, and I'll be happy to address any questions you may have. But kind of where I want to start is just providing a little bit of background on tnAchieves, as well as some insight into the individual components of our program. So tnAchieves is a nonprofit organization that serves as the partnering organization to Tennessee Promise in 90 of the state's 95 counties. Effectively, what that means is we are administering the scholarship in those 90 counties. We're working to make sure that students are not only applying for Tennessee Promise, but they're meeting their deadlines and they're staying on the right track towards college enrollment in the fall semester immediately following their high school graduation. We have had the opportunity, and we've been lucky enough since 2008, since the program began in Knox County, to serve more than 440,000 high school students and 71,000 volunteers across the state. We also, as it stands today, serve more than 600 high schools and 67 eligible post-secondary institutions. So, the scope of our work and the number of students that we're able to work with and community members each and every year is something that we're really proud of. And I also want to spend just a second highlighting what this program looks like and the components that go in to the work that tnAchieves does. So Tennessee Promise is, of course, really probably the banner piece of our work. It's the most known piece of our work, certainly. And that's, of course, the last dollar scholarship that allows high school seniors across the state to attend community or technical college tuition and mandatory fee free. That's an opportunity. That's something that not every student across the country has the chance to do. But, really Tennessee has led the way in this sort of initiative, and that's exciting, certainly. We know, though, that many of the students we work with are going to be the first in their family to enroll in college. And as a result, they need more than just financial supports to find success in college. So we pair every student with a volunteer mentor, someone from their community who helps them in the process, kind of guides them through it, and just makes sure that they're successful in navigating their college going process. It is also important to tnAchieves that students have a little bit of skin in the game, that they are invested in this program to some degree. If we're going to provide them community support to go to college, financial resources to access college, we want them to give back just a little bit. And so since our program began in 2008 to today, and for many years into the future, we're going to ask that students complete and submit 8 hours of community service for every semester they are enrolled using Tennessee Promise. And we'll see in just a few slides what that looks like in the community, how many total hours students have completed. But this is one of the nice pieces of the program that I'm not sure gets as much talk, but it's certainly a good piece of the program that we'd like to highlight. We're also doing work, though, especially nowadays, to make sure that students are not just successful in starting college, but also in making sure that they're graduating and they're, finishing the ultimate goal, which is a degree or credential in hand. And so we're working with the summer program, for example, that lasts 3 to 10 weeks and takes some of our most academically at-risk students and gives them the opportunity for some time over the summer to take some classes on a college campus and potentially test out of some learning support subjects that they may require. This program has shown really positive results. While not every student is necessarily going to test out of those learning support classes, what we do know is students are going to improve because they participated in this program. We also know that the students who participate in the summer program leave it feeling more ready for college. They leave it more comfortable with college. Specifically, when you consider these are our academically at-risk students, These are those students who are more likely to start college and feel overwhelmed, feel concerned, feel some anxiety as they get started. But this summer program allows them the chance to build college going comfort in June and July, get some experience under their belt so that when they start with everyone else in the fall, they're more prepared to hit the ground running. We've also introduced in the past 2 years a new program that we call Complete. This is a program in which we take some of our economically at-risk students and pair them with a member of our staff. This is a full-time staff member whose only job really is to proactively connect with students, to reach out to them consistently in their college career, to make sure that obstacles they may encounter, hurdles they may come across along the way don't result in a student dropping out or stopping their classes, whatever that may be. By proactively reaching out and helping to catch these issues sooner in their college career, we're able to help these students stay in school and ultimately, hopefully, graduate. And we'll share some data on both of these programs here in just a few minutes. As you can see off to the right-hand side too, Tennessee Achieves is also, constantly communicating with students, sending them information about requirements and information they need to be successful in their college career. Before we talk specifically about data in your community, I want to share just a little bit about the scope of our work, the students we're working with, and the communities that we serve. We currently serve 90 counties. Like I mentioned, 74 of those are rural counties. 35 of those communities are at-risk or distressed counties, according to the Department of Economic and Community Development. We serve more than 600 high schools each year, 67 colleges in total. And I think the really interesting piece here is around some of the data on where Tennessee Achieves students are going to college. So you can see 11% of our students are enrolling in a TCAT. Now that is up from when we first introduced Tennessee Promise, but we would love to see this number increase even more because TCATs, and these are the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technologies, represent a fantastic opportunity for our students. They can graduate high school, they can go get a degree or credential, and they can enter the workforce all in a fairly tight time frame after they graduate high school. So this is a great chance for many of those students who want to enter the workforce quickly to do exactly that while still getting the ever important post-secondary credential under their belt. We see 79% of our students enrolling at a community college and 10% enrolling at a four-year institution and choosing to pursue an associate's degree there. So certainly the community college path is the popular path amongst our students, but we've seen increases in the TCAT space, and we hope to see that continue in the years to come, certainly. Speaking a little more specifically about our students, they represent a pretty significant chunk of students, not only in our high schools, but in our colleges. We are able to work with 60,000 students each and every year, and that represents 89% of all high school seniors across the state. 78% of students first-time freshmen at our community colleges are Tennessee Achieves students, and 86% of all community college graduates are Tennessee Achieves students. So what these data points just show is that a significant number of students engaging in the community college process and ultimately graduating in the community college from a community college are students that are at some point impacted by Tennessee Achieves programming. A little more about the students. 56% will be eligible for federal financial aid, meaning they tend to be low-income students, and 40% are the first in their family to go to college. This has always kind of been the target student at Tennessee Achieves, that first-generation low-income college student, and we continue to work to develop programs and supports to make sure these students find success. 51% of our students as well will major in health sciences or a STEM-related field. Really quickly, before we pivot to Trousdale County specific data, what I want to share is that the Tennessee Promise annual scholarship cost is $32 million. That amounts to about $1,000 per student receiving Tennessee Promise, and then $2.5 million is the annual operating cost for Tennessee Achieves to operate in our communities, which when you consider the fact that each and every year we are serving about 60,000 high school seniors, 89% of all seniors across the state, we're pretty proud of that operating cost, that we're able to do this at a relatively lean budget while still providing high impact supports for students. Now, before I pivot and kind of move on, I do want to take a break. I see we've got some new faces who have joined us. If anyone's got any questions over anything I've shared so far, please do feel free to jump in. All right. Well, what I want to do now is just kind of focus in on Trousdale County specifically and share some of your data. In FAFSA file rate, for example, for those who aren't familiar, the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. This is one of the most important documents that students have to file their senior year to go to college. This is what's going to get them scholarship dollars, both on the state level and on the federal level. Statewide, students filed the FAFSA at a rate of about 86%. Locally, that number was 83%. So a 3% gap there, not a super significant gap, certainly. That could just be the difference of a couple more students filing their FAFSA next year to get to that statewide number. So, the FAFSA is one of the most, for students at least, it is confusing and it is an obstacle. So to have such high FAFSA file rates, both statewide and locally, certainly a good data point there. We also see as well, and one thing I would add to as we talk about FAFSA, tnAchieves has always visited high schools. We provided virtual FAFSA filing sessions, resources to counselors to help file FAFSAs, and that will remain the case in the year to come. If we can do anything to help in the FAFSA filing space, we are more than happy to accommodate that. I do want to hone in on community service for just a second. Locally, students have completed about 4,607 hours, and statewide, students have completed 3.3 million hours of community service. I talked about community service earlier as one of the pieces of this program that I think is underrated, or it's kind of an unsung hero of the program. To see students giving back thousands of hours locally, as well as millions of hours across the state, I think is a great piece of what tnAchieves offers to students in the community. Because frankly, these are students who are probably giving back at higher rates than they would be otherwise. So to see this high level of volunteerism and to see so many hours being completed in the community, that's something we're proud of, and we're happy to be able to share that. Locally as well, want to talk about your application, your retention numbers. So in this past year, we saw 90 students apply for Tennessee Promise. More than 60,000 across the state did so. And we saw 26 go on to enroll and use Tennessee Promise, more than 17,000 doing so across the state as well. Now, as we look at retention and graduation numbers, there's certainly some opportunities here, right? We see that retention is 58% against the statewide average of 67%. And the three-year graduation rate is 31%, which is about 4 points behind that statewide number of 35%. So certainly love to see these numbers increase in the years to come. And I want to share with you a little bit here in just a second about how some of the additional programming that we're offering to students can hopefully help to positively impact these numbers locally moving forward. But, certainly, especially in the graduation space, there's not much space there. It's 4 points, so we could certainly see that made up here in the coming years, hopefully. But I do want to talk a little bit more about retention and graduation as it relates to students who just are not a part of these programs. So students who are using are tnAchieves students at a Tennessee Promise eligible institution retain and stay in school at a rate 14% higher than their peers who are not a part of the tnAchieves program. Students who are tnAchieves students and enroll anywhere retain at a rate 21 points higher than their peers who are not a part of the program. As far as graduation goes, we're really happy with the results we're seeing there as well, because students who are tnAchieves students enrolling at one of our community colleges are graduating at a rate 16 points higher than their peers who are not a part of the tnAchieves program. And what these data points just show is the supports that we're offering to students, whether it be financial, whether it be the non-financial components, are making a positive impact in the spaces that matter. And that's students staying in school and students graduating from college. They're able to focus on what matters, and that's going to class, that's getting good grades, that's graduating, and that's staying. And ultimately, that's what really, really matters. a couple of those additional supports that we're working on and currently implementing for students to increase these rates even further, both in retention and graduation. The summer programs, like I mentioned, which are targeted at our at-risk students. Students who participate in those programs are 34% more likely to retain than their peers who do not participate. Students who are coached by a member of our staff and part of that complete program are 23% more likely to retain. And we also have a new program called Knox Promise. This is taking local dollars in Knox County to offer coaching for every student in Knox County, as well as some additional financial support for students who may require it. Those students who are part of that program are 42% more likely to retain. So one thing I'll tell you just internally at Tennessee Achieves, we are always looking at these sort of additional programs, these sort of additional layers of support that we can add to the student experience to further increase their ability to retain and graduate and see these sort of positive outcomes. Tennessee Promise has had a huge impact on student success, on student engagement in the college going process, but we want to continue to layer on supports to ensure that the ultimate goal of getting them a credential and getting them that degree, that is achieved as well. Now, I do want to speak a little bit to this slide because this is the opportunity. This is kind of the call to action that I think we all will look at as we reflect on what's ahead in 2022. College going across the state, in the community, across the country, frankly, has taken a hit in the past year. Tennessee Promise, when it was introduced in 2014, caused college going rates across the country to increase in Tennessee to increase pretty significantly. And we held them steady there for many years. But the pandemic has caused college going to take a hit across the state, and a pretty significant hit in Trousdale County as well, with about 20 points from where we were in 2019. We want to, across the state and locally, get back to where we were before the pandemic and get this number back in that space where we like to see it previously, if not even higher. But we're going to need community support to make that possible. I think one of the single biggest ways that we can help to get this rate back to where it was is with community supports. And I think mentorship specifically will play a big part of this. Ultimately, we will work with 60,000 students in the class of 2022. Local supports and local guidance for our students, that's going to have a pretty big impact on their ability to start and stay in college. In 2022, mentoring is going to look pretty similar to what it has in the past with a few subtle changes. We're going to ask mentors to stay in touch with their students bi-weekly using call, text, email, as well as Tennessee Achieves Connect, our virtual mentoring platform. We're also going to make mentors, provide mentors with an option to meet with their students either in person or virtually, because we know many mentors want to get back to some form of in-person connection. That was an important component of our program prior to 2021. We want to hopefully bring it back in some way in the coming year. And we're looking at hosting open house style sessions where mentors and students can gather together and get to know one another at a space Tennessee Achieves kind of sets up. Mentoring in total is going to take 12 hours per year. So not a huge time commitment, as it always has not been. It's going to be 1 hour per month to serve your students. We have always asked mentors to serve 3 basic roles for their students: being a task manager, being a resource, and being an encourager. Anyone who can serve in these 3 roles is able to positively impact their students. But I do think that as we look ahead to 2022, as we focus on getting college going rates back up across the state and locally, the encourager is going to be a big part of that. We need individuals in the communities who can pick students up and say, you can do this and you should do this relevant to college going. We need mentors who are going to say, let's help figure out this problem together. Because many students just don't have that positive encourager in their life, especially in the space of post-secondary education. And our mentors play a critical piece in offering that encouragement. That certainly as well as the piece that we can't replace at Tennessee Achieves. Serving 60,000 students in the coming year, we can't provide personal encouragement to each and every one of them, but mentors can. And that's why it's an important volunteer position. Anyone who's interested in joining us as a mentor can visit tnAchieves.org/mentors. They can apply by December 3rd in 2021. We need 14 locally in the coming year. So we certainly want to do everything we can to meet that need, if not exceed it, to ensure that students have the supports they need. They've got someone in their corner who's pushing them to apply for college, pushing them to enroll and see it through to the finish line. So certainly a big need, something we want to make sure to meet. We're hard at work already to achieve this goal. I want to share a few additional things that groups like this can do to support our work and make sure students are receiving the supports they need to be successful. Certainly, we've got becoming a mentor by December 3rd. That's a big way you can support students, but you can also help to connect Tennessee Achieves in the community. One of the biggest assets that's gotten us to where we are today, that's helped to achieve these student outcomes and to achieve this sort of progress, is groups willing to hear this story, groups willing to hear these sort of data updates like this today. And if you know of anyone in the community who might be interested in hearing this update or hearing our story, send an email to mentors@tnAchieves.org, and we are always happy to provide resources, set up a date, time, whatever we need to do to help get this need and this story out there, because that's a huge way we can impact communities. And you can also just tell someone about Tennessee Promise. Whether it's a student, telling them to fill out their Tennessee Promise application, whether it's someone who is looking to volunteer, telling them about that mentoring role. The word of mouth power that has gotten so many mentors recruited over the years, so many stakeholders interested in the program. That's a big way that we're able to positively impact communities as well. But as we conclude, I just want to stress that this work is not possible if not for local support and for groups like this hopping on and hearing this update and engaging with our team. We've got representatives from the county, the school system here, all of which are key players in positively impacting students and offering these sort of additional programs to further impact students. So we can't thank you enough for joining us. And we're eager to get going and serving the class of 2022, as well as continuing to guide the class of 2021 as they take their first steps into college right now. So really excited about what's to come. Want to get moving in the right direction as far as college going rates, and we appreciate you hopping on here today. My contact information is on the screen. If I can ever do anything to help, don't hesitate to reach out. But we appreciate you joining us. And if you've got any questions at all, you can post them in the chat. You can unmute yourself. I'm happy to take those.
Tyler, is my mic on?
Yeah, it is.
First of all, will this PowerPoint be available?
I can send it out. Yes.
Okay. And we're quite aware of the data that you showed here. Our FAFSA rate has dropped over the past 3 to 4 years. It was even dropping before COVID came. There's some reluctancy for families to provide tax information. That type of thing has been a hurdle for us. We had that rate of 83% in a COVID year. We felt pretty good about that, but we definitely want we want to get that back in the 90s, and that's one of the goals that we are setting internally that we want to try to do, and we think we can. One of the things I did want to talk, one of the things that we're talking about, and I don't know if you can help me in this area, and one of the things that we are wanting to do this year is we want to take all of our seniors and pair them with our faculty. So it'll be like a 4-to-1 ratio, 5-to-1 ratio of one of our faculty members tied with one of our students to help do these things that Tennessee Achieves are doing. Matter of fact, what we're talking about internally is that we would like to do a small Tennessee Achieves with inside of our own walls. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would this be like an additional layer essentially? So,
Yeah, we didn't want it to take the place of Tennessee Achieves, but we wanted it to do the same purpose. But who has better access to those students than their teachers in their buildings?
No, exactly. I mean, they see them every day.
So what I'm thinking is can you, Tennessee Achieves, help us in that area? or would it be worth our while to encourage our faculty all to be Tennessee Achieves mentors, is what I'm saying.
Well, so a couple of different ways we could go with that. I mean, if they are working to achieve kind of the same outcomes, the same goals as Tennessee Achieves mentors would be, I would say that having them apply to be mentors would make a lot of sense, because then they're going to get all the information that we are sending out, that we are pushing out to have students complete. So we can kind of keep it in line in that sense. Now, like I said, I'll send out those PowerPoint slides. We can talk more about kind of what else we could maybe do to support that.
This is something that we have identified, this drop in college going rate due to the pandemic. We've identified this as well. And this is one of the solutions that we wanted to do. And we wanted to focus on FAFSA filing, Tennessee Promise. Now, we did have 100% of our students last year complete Tennessee Promise.
And that's outstanding. Yeah, especially in this past year, 100%.
Right. So, the first gate is the Tennessee Promise. Second gate is the FAFSA. The other one is making those college applications early and getting those acceptances. So, Tyler, I'd like for you and I, we're ready to do this. This is on our school improvement plan.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you about how we can maybe sculpture that for Trousdale County High School.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you an email right after this, and maybe we can, let me think on it just a little bit, and then we can kind of get together maybe and think through how we
Do you have my contacts?
I should. Yeah, I almost certainly do. It's in the register.
Reach out to me when you're ready then.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely follow up. Anything we can do to your point, add additional.
Well, the principal's ready to do this. This is on our strategic plan. So
yeah,
I'd just like to make it as most effective as we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's good.
Hey,
but we weren't trying to take what. Excuse me?
Are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, can I make a comment then? This is Natalie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in the last 10 days, I have talked to 4 new businesses in town who cannot hire people, obviously. And so you couple that with being a Tennessee Promise mentor for a long time. I really think that somehow we're doing the right things for kids. Don't get me wrong. I think that that's true. But I think we need to go back and somehow find a way to better engage their parents. Because if their parents don't want to work, the kids see no reason to go to school and not work, especially when they're first generation. We somehow have to get those parents on board with how they can improve their kids' lives by supporting them in this.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. One of the things we've always tried to do, and it's been a challenge, is engage the parents through this process. We send them a handbook. We would have them come to the meetings and do what we could to bring them along in this process. But to your point,
I've tried to call when I did Tennessee Promise, I tried to call all the parents, and yeah, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, point too, when parents are more engaged in the process, it's tremendously helpful.
Yes. Yeah, they're getting that kid out the door. Do you know what I mean? They're just supporting them, even if it's not monetarily. They're emotionally supporting them and encouraging them. And when your parents don't give up whatever, it's just really tough to get those kids to move forward.
It is. And those are the students too who, when we are able to get through to them, that's where the mentoring role is so impactful, because that's a student who just didn't have that in their life prior. But getting through to them initially and breaking that cycle
it's tough. It's tough. I had a student who was just the first time we met, she was like, man, I have to pay for my car. I have to go to work. I have a baby already. But we met her in September, right? I love the September meetings, by the way. Those are the best.
Yeah.
And she was like, wow, I have to get to school every day if I want to find a way to support me and my baby. And I'm like, yes. I think that she just got it on her own. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But if you can find a way, I don't know, to educate the parents, I know it's a tough go, trust me, but
No, it's really impactful when we're able to. So it's certainly something we're always thinking about as well.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Clint, did you have another question?
No, just a comment. I mean, just a segue from Natalie. That's a tough nut to crack, is to engage a parent. That's hard.
It is indeed.
And we have some good parents. Don't get me wrong, but we have some that, and a lot of them, they don't know, like you was giving the statistics of the first generation college goers. And then another thing is trying to tap into that. And we've got a TCAT right here in our county, and we're doing dual enrollment.
Mhm.
And I'd be interested to see if you had any statistics of what our college going is with TCAT, because I was hoped that it would be higher than that 11% of the state, because that's something we've tried to double down on the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I can check and see if that's something we've
Yeah.
got on a county level. It may be, but I'm not certain on that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. We have a hard time getting TCAT data over time.
Yeah.
We do.
No, I would imagine though, to your point, that because of that partnership, it likely is a little bit higher, or at least hopefully.
Yeah. Through ACT, that they're tracking students, retention rates at year 1, 2, 3, graduation rates, or persistent rates. But I don't. Anything you can help me with that. We just don't have a database to go to get TCAT results in that kind of way. There's an ACT national clearinghouse.
Yes.
That we can get the post-secondary for 2 and 4 year colleges, but we don't have any database for TCAT.
We pull ours through clearinghouse as well, through our data, but I'm not sure. I'll check and see if we're pulling the TCAT data on a county level.
Okay. I think Christina just texted and said she could maybe help in that area as well.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yeah, so any help you can give me in that area would really help us.
Yeah, I can definitely look into that for sure.
Okay. And then you're going to follow back up with me. You're going to think about that idea, and you're going to wrap back. And I tell you something else. We really tried to push Summer Bridge last year. And like, if you look at our statistics, we've had 1 and none. And I think we had 3 or 4 this year. Mm-hmm. We would like to continue to try to push that. And I'd like information on your complete program as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll follow up with the slides. I'll send you some more data on that complete program itself, and I'll see what I can do on the TCAT side and see if we've got anything there.
Yeah. Got to get that college going rate up.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it took a hit statewide, and it certainly, got to get it back up.
Right. Okay, we'll do that. Tyler, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you everyone for hopping on.
Yes.
Let me know if there's anything else I can do.
Okay. Thank y'all very much.